Happy birthday, America. Let's take a second to let this sink in. Today is July 4th, 2026. We've officially hit our semi-quincentennial. That is exactly 250 years of American independence. And right now, all across the country, millions of people are gathering, firing up the grills, and reflecting on the shared history that brings us all together. But before the fireworks start popping off tonight, we're going to take a look at how two of our absolute most iconic symbols, the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, got a massive, meticulous glow-up just for this exact moment. In today's Explainer, we're diving into exactly how these historic legends have been prepped for their next century. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll start with the Mother of Exiles to explore the emotional core of these monuments. Then we'll get into the gritty details of restoring the historic exterior, take a tour through a jaw-dropping $100 million museum makeover, see how Liberty is adapting to the digital age, and finally, look at how communities are celebrating America 250 today. All right, let's jump right into part one, the Mother of Exiles, and a symbol's enduring emotional core. Before we talk about the heavy steel, the stone, and those massive multi-million-dollar budgets, we really have to anchor these monuments to the powerful emotions they inspire. Because the story of Liberty, at its heart, it's a human story. You know Emma Lazarus' famous sonnet, The New Colossus, right? She actually wrote that back in 1883, originally just to help raise funds for the statue's pedestal. And that's exactly where we get that immortal phrase, Mother of Exiles. What's really amazing is how that poignant sentiment just continues to resonate so deeply today. A great example, it was recently immortalized in a 2018 classical song cycle by American composer Juliana Hall. She created this absolutely stunning setting of the sonnet for baritone and piano, which really just proves that the emotional weight of this 19th century poem is still inspiring artists and moving audiences right now. And that deep emotional resonance, it's really fueled an incredible wave of recent momentum. The journey to today's 2026 celebrations didn't just happen overnight. In 2019, we saw the opening of a massive new Statue of Liberty museum. Then, in 2021, celebrating the long-standing friendship between our nations, France actually gifted the U.S. a 9-foot bronze little sister replica of the statue. It was cast from the original mold and even spent time sitting on Ellis Island. So cool. And that brings us right here to 2026, culminating in the completion of major museum and exterior rehabilitations. Moving on to part two, restoring the historic exterior and fixing the foundation. Okay, now we are shifting from the emotional meaning to the heavy lifting. Let's be real, preserving history means you're actively, constantly fighting the elements. When you've got a 100-plus-year-old building sitting literally out in the middle of New York Harbor, it takes major help to stop active water infiltration. The National Park Service found that while the limestone and brick facades were generally holding up, localized failures were creating real safety risks and letting water inside. Luckily, this massive project was funded by the Great American Outdoors Act, tackling those underlying structural issues before they could destroy the historic fabric. We're talking about meticulously removing historic windows for off-site restoration, ripping out old skylights that had somehow survived since the 1980s, and fixing the clay tile roofing. It is a colossal effort targeted for completion right now, making sure the building stands strong for generations to come. Which brings us to part three, a $100 million museum makeover, revitalizing Ellis Island. Let's transition from the exterior brick and mortar to the truly mind-blowing updates happening inside the Ellis Island National Museum of Immigration. $100 million. Just take a second to process the sheer scale of that budget. The Statue of Liberty Ellis Island Foundation is using this to bring a 34-year-old museum firmly into the 21st century. So when you walk the very same halls where 12 million immigrants anxiously took their first steps in America, you aren't just looking at dusty old artifacts anymore. You're walking into brand new public spaces, you're experiencing fully immersive films, and you're interacting with state-of-the-art touchscreens. They're completely reimagining how we connect with this foundational American story. But honestly, the most staggering upgrade of this whole project is the massive expansion of the Records Discovery Center. For 2 decades, the old Ellis Island database let people search through about 65 million Port of New York arrival records. Pretty impressive, right? Well, today, they've more than doubled it. The new database includes nearly 90 million additional records from other ports of entry nationwide. That brings the total to a staggering 154 million searchable documents. This is an absolute game changer, empowering millions more families across the entire country to actually trace their unique heritage and immigration stories. Let's look at part 4, Liberty in the Digital Age and Modernizing the Experience. We've covered the physical upgrades, but how do you adapt 19th century monuments for a 21st century smartphone-obsessed audience? Well, 26,000 square feet is a good start. That is the massive footprint of the stunning Statue of Liberty Museum that opened its doors back in 2019, built at a cost of $70 million. It's packed with 3 connected theaters featuring floor-to-ceiling curved screens. It was specifically designed to give visitors, especially the folks who can't physically climb all those stairs up into the crown, a sweeping, deeply immersive, high-tech experience of the statue's true scale. And what if you can't make the voyage to New York Harbor at all? The Foundation has thought of that too, rolling out some brilliant digital tools. You might not know this, but they launched an incredibly detailed augmented reality app developed by Yap Studios. It literally lets you explore a 3D model of the statue right in your living room. There's also a Bloomberg Connects digital guide loaded with first-hand immigrant accounts, plus a virtual dedicated passenger search for all you genealogy buffs out there. History is no longer confined to an island. Whether you're casually browsing or doing deep family research, these tools put the legacy of American immigration right into the palm of your hand, wherever you are. Finally, Part 5, Celebrating America 250, a nationwide milestone. Today is the big day. We've seen how the monuments themselves are prepared, but how is this historic milestone actually echoing out into the rest of the country? To get a sense of that widespread impact, I was looking at one local town, North Canton in Northeast Ohio. They are an official America 250 community, and they're expecting over 5,000 residents and visitors to turn out for the nation's semi-quincentennial. I love this because it perfectly shows how communities hundreds of miles away from New York Harbor are still deeply engaged in this shared legacy. Just look at their schedule for today. It's packed. It kicks off at noon with a community picnic featuring a brass quintet from the Canton Symphony Orchestra. Then, right at 1 p.m., local historian M.J. Albacete is giving a presentation literally titled Lady Liberty, the story behind America's icon. It just proves how central the Mother of Exiles remains to our broader American identity. Then the day rounds out with a Main Street festival, classic cars, and finishes off with an illuminated drone show filling the night sky. From historical deep dives to high-tech light shows, the spirit of these 19th century monuments is completely driving the way hometowns everywhere celebrate today. Which brings us to a final thought for today's explainer. We've repaired the stone, we've modernized the museums, and digitized the records. And today, we're celebrating our 250th anniversary with everything we've got. But the physical monuments, they are only secure for the future. Their ongoing meaning, what they actually stand for, relies entirely on us. So how will the next 250 years shape the story of the Mother of Exiles? That's the question we're leaving you with today. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy Independence Day.